Welcome back to The Remote Life. My name is Han Talbot, also known as Han Meets World, and today we'll be chatting with Maris Kohv. For the past 6 years, as founder and CEO of MINOMA, Maris has been crafting transformative experiences for conscious entrepreneurs and mindful nomads. In this episode, we talk about MINOMA and who it is for, the power of in-person events for remote workers, and some tips for finding more mindfulness in your own remote life. So grab a coffee, a tea, or something stronger, and let's get started. Well, Maris, welcome to the Remote Life podcast. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm feeling really excited. I feel like podcasting format and sharing the voice is such a beautiful, powerful way to spread a message, connect with people, connect with you. Thanks for having me.
I love that you said that. That is exactly the idea and a kind of point of the podcast, is that we're able to have these longer, more meaningful and deeper chats. So yeah, absolutely welcome. It's funny, I feel like this has been a podcast that has been a long time coming. I feel like this is a long one in the making, so I'm looking forward to chatting more. And I guess that leads us perfectly into the first question. So tell us about you and your remote life journey so far.
Great question. My remote work journey, I feel like it's really, really linked with also this freedom lifestyle. And to give a bit of context, I remember very clearly those days in university where I felt really, really stuck and not understanding why I actually do feel stuck, and how my daily life unfolded at the time was I was living like a double life. I had my friends and my family in my hometown, and I went there for weekends, and I had like a normal social life, almost doing my best to just, I don't know, fit in and pretend that everything is normal, everything is fine, I'm feeling fine, there's nothing that is weighing me down, right? At the same time, when I went back to where I was studying architecture at the time. I was by myself, and many times I completely crashed. I really collapsed into this state of numbness, lack of motivation, lack of inspiration. I couldn't even go to university, and that was really, really painful because I was one of those high achiever students throughout my whole high school. So university felt really, really painful because I was completely failing. And at the same time, I felt like I was in a state of constant depression. And this is now, I can really look back at it as almost like a blessing, a gift in disguise, because I really feel like this experience of feeling really stuck and low in an environment that somehow is not meant for you is just a way to push you to another path. And at some point I felt so incredibly overwhelmed, so numb, so lost, that I somehow naturally, intuitively, instinctively, I just cut a lot of things out of my life. My 5-year relationship, I cut contact with even with my parents, because too many questions, and also all the friends, they went with it. So I was left with a lot of questions. I was left with me by myself, trying to figure out what I actually really, really want from life. And that is super confusing, such a crazy time, but at the same time, also, wow, again, it gave me space to question things. And I somehow, surrendered, because I gave up trying to fight and figure things out, and just, okay, I give up and see what happens. And that somehow led me to a 10-day meditation course. And to keep this part really, really short, although I think it has so much to unravel here, but to keep it really short, the 10-day meditation course was unbelievable. It was something that gave me access to intuition. And that's why I referred to freedom before, because I think the location independent lifestyle is just one aspect to it. The other aspect is the internal freedom that we eventually want to reach. So Vipassana was a gateway to it. I really connected with my intuition and my heart, with my body in general. And this is a really interesting shift, because before, when I was trying to figure things out, I was so stuck and I just lost hope. And now being so somehow, like painfully aware of everything and finding more connection with this deeper wisdom within, I just honestly, I let it guide me, and it led me to changing my environment, moving to Lisbon, first going there with architecture. I was doing an internship there. I was also working remotely, to Estonia, doing projects there in architecture. So that's how it started. Then after a while, I completely shifted, but this is maybe something that, yeah, I'll keep it like this. Long answer, but it's a really important context to share.
100%. I think everybody's story is so different. I mean, we're all obviously like part of this larger community, right? Everyone's story is so powerful. I think a lot of people will be able to relate to a lot of what you're saying on your experience. So I guess I'd be curious to know if anybody who's listening, or before we like talk more about MINOMA, are there any like kind of exercises or books or courses that you would maybe recommend to people who are sort of thinking also like, yeah, for me, I want to get more back in touch with my intuition.
There's quite a few books that I remember I was just reading and recognizing the words within that time, like after Vipassana. Of course, the Eckhart Tolle ones, the Power of Now, and the New Earth as well. And I feel like courses is a little bit difficult for me to give advice, because what I truly believe is in experiential learning. I feel like meditation is such a bodily experience that if someone really wants to dive into it, I honestly don't know a better place than Vipassana, just because it is set up so perfectly. It is meant for this. It's bringing people together, it's supporting them in their journey, distraction free, with a lot of guidance, because it can be really hard, to sit down and close your eyes and be like, okay, what am I supposed to do now? But I think one thing I can say is that there's so many different ways, and for a lot of people, the body activation before dropping into meditation is a really powerful way. So whether it's through breath work or shaking or conscious dance, like really tapping into the body and moving the body, and just getting into that place without thinking of okay, I need to quiet the mind. That is one really great place to start. And I also feel like this is it can be quite a difficult thing to do by yourself. I would maybe at this point throw it back at you. And what is your experience? Have you tried to do it by yourself? How does it feel? Do you find it challenging?
Having a safety net, I feel like, as well. I feel like having a group of people around you you've kind of created this intentional safe environment for people. I feel like it's there's nothing that can for me, I think I definitely feel it as a good bit of practice by myself, but I would say without the help of others, I've not been able to get to where I'm at either. So tell us more about MINOMA, and what would a typical day at a MINOMA festival look and feel like, I guess?
Okay. MINOMA. Okay, so we started, this is it's continuation of the story that I shared in the beginning, when I And when I went to Lisbon, because MINOMA, it came out of first of from curiosity. You know, at this time I was so curious about everything and all the nomad meetups in Lisbon. There was such a vibrant scene of events and people. And I remember the first time I went to a meetup, it was really, really, really exciting, you know, to hear everyone's stories of how they have just completely disregarded what is normal, what is expected of them, and somehow developed a business or another way of working that just allowed them to travel, you know, and be completely free. And I think this is something that it just clicked within. And I realized that this transformation that I had within, like this inner freedom. I'm not saying that, okay, I reached, I don't know, the ultimate inner freedom, but it made a massive difference in my life. And I think this combined with this inspiration from the location independence, that freedom, they just somehow, boom, you know, matched. And the idea for what was back then Borderless Retreat, it was just ignited. It was just sparked. I don't really think that it's something that I came up with. I think it's something that, I don't know, somehow just came through me, if that makes any sense. So how we started is also just by having small meetups, but what we felt on those weekly meetups at that time, that was six years back, is that every week you meet new people and there was constantly these conversations. Where are you from? What are you doing? And then a couple of weeks later, they're gone. And it felt like it was really exciting, but lacked the depth of connection that could be possible. So what we did with those meetups, we added a little twist of what you mentioned before, the safe space, the invitation to share something really, really meaningful. Because what I've seen is that brings together these type of people who, yeah, they have maybe the location independent lifestyle. They really value freedom, but they want to go deeper. There is a deeper craving for ease and peace and joy, you know, to find our way back to that. So we started hosting weekly sharing circles before we ever did a retreat. Now by 2024, we have done 35 retreats and one festival. And who MINOMA brings together is both entrepreneurs and remote workers, travelers, nomads who are either curious about mindfulness or they already have their own practice and they really want to connect with other people who have the same values, have the same urge to at least once a year to completely reset, slow down, because they understand the power of also taking it slow. Because many times when we take a step back to slow down, it's also a way to accelerate, but in a almost like laser targeted way. That's why we focus so much on like alignment because it's a way to connect with this like this the same inner compass inside that knows exactly what is your best use of energy, what is your best next step. You know, there is so much wisdom within that. This is what we constantly tap into with MINOMA. And a festival as well. A typical day, this is an interesting question, because if you think of a festival, it has a very different built up, because instead of the stages and keynotes and networking, we have built it up around circles around deep connection and also a lot of embodiment. We actually curate the whole program in that sense that there wouldn't be so much intellectualizing the talks, inspiration, because it is a fleeting state, it is a fleeting emotion. We have seen that lasting shifts, they really come through embodiment. So a lot of the festival sessions, they really are about embodiment, coming back to our bodies through dance, through yoga, through breath work, through heart activation. There's so many different modalities and sessions, but it's all meant to bring us back to our body, bring us back home, so we can actually, like, on a very, very deep level, connect with other people as well, because it's all a mirror. So yeah, a little sneak peek, a little recap.
Who is MINOMA designed for? Like, who is your specific person that you are kind of is the target, right? Like, is it digital nomad specific? Is it for anybody? Like, in the remote work world, is it for anybody at all who may be listening?
Yeah, good question. Because you know what? When we were rebranding from Borderless Retreat to MINOMA is actually a combination of two words, mindful nomad, because how we started being so immersed in the digital nomad community and hosting events, also mostly people who have this lifestyle, we just saw something really incredible. We saw that there is an instant sense of community and connection between people who share the same lifestyle, because by default they have very similar perspective on life, a lot of similar struggle. For example, missing out on some things from their home, not seeing their parents grow old, or missing their sister giving birth, and some things that are also quite painful on this journey towards traveling and constantly meeting new people. So there's a lot of different sides to this lifestyle that, especially 6 years back, a lot of other people just don't understand. And this is something that brings people together like nothing else, is them sharing their experiences and feeling completely seen and understood. So it did start off from the lifestyle, but what we have evolved into, and also what naturally just happened was a bit of an opening up to different types of people and lifestyles and careers as well, because as I said before, the main intention that people have is actually finding this connection with themselves back, and finding ways to create a life that they don't have to run from their shadow. What I mean by this is that the location independent lifestyle is almost like the first step out of, for a lot of people, first step out of this structure, the corporations, the educational structure, a lot of this system that many people, they feel stuck in, right? So they had this deep calling to go and travel and explore, but it's just the first step. And then through that curiosity, they also feel like, okay, great, I can see that through exploring the world and through changing my environment, I change a lot internally. Like, the external changes, they also reflected internally. So it almost like naturally triggers also this personal development journey. And a lot of people, they want to go deeper into this, especially throughout the pandemic. What was super interesting to see was that, first of all, so many people realized that they can have a location-independent lifestyle because, hey, I'm still working from my laptop at home, so I should be able to do this from anywhere. Second of all, what happened is so many people, because this was incredible situation. It had many dark sides to it as well. But what it also did, it gave people space to reflect and to pause and to almost tune out all the daily noise to start question, like, is that the life that they actually want to live? And also because there was an increased amount of stress, a lot of people turned to yoga and meditation, almost like, okay, let's give it a try. But if it's something that actually resonates with you, if you already give it a try and it clicks, it's something that also kickstarts a journey. So I'm just painting a picture, because the people who join the events, they are entrepreneurs, they are remote workers, they're digital nomads, and some of them are just curious about the lifestyle and they want to connect with other people, because not having these reference points in their normal environment also makes it hard to actually trust and believe that this is possible for them. But the power of community and this in-person experiences is that we connect with other people, and we, by sharing stories with them, by sharing time, by sharing energy, it becomes more normal and it becomes more accessible. And it's very inspiring, So in that sense, it's for everyone. But I think the people we call in are mostly either conscious entrepreneurs or mindful nomads.
100%, I believe that these events are amazing in person, but I can just imagine maybe some people questioning, obviously, if it's for digital nomads specifically and people who obviously work wherever they want in the world. I'm just going to play some devil's advocate here, but why would the event be in person as opposed to virtual? What makes the difference for you about having an in-person festival?
Yeah, good question. Wow, there's many layers to it. First of all, I feel like now as we have so many people working remotely, there is a big shift towards self-management. This applies to both remote workers and entrepreneurs, that there is a fine line sometimes between, like, okay, where does my work start and where does it end? And especially for entrepreneurs, you are the person who is both creating your to-do list, executing your to-do list, evaluating your to-do list. And this can be never ending. And this is it's especially if you're super passionate about it, sometimes it's very, very, very hard to stop or to find this balance, just this balance, because all of the virtual world, the social media, how everything is built up, it's fast paced, first of all, and also it disconnects us from our bodies. It really does. There's a lot of distractions online as well. And you know what? I'll first answer your question. So with in-person experiences, what I feel is so incredibly powerful is that it's almost, like we create a completely different experience. We create a completely different space by coming together. Let's say for the festival, for us, it's 100 people coming together to a desert. And again, I'm going to say it's a festival that's very different from a lot of other festivals, conferences, summits, because what we do is we bring people together in a completely distraction-free zone. In the desert, the whole place is for us, and the whole experience is super intentionally curated in a way that we can, first of all, when we enter the space, we all together in one big circle, we take a deep breath, we slow down, and we align on our intention to slow down and to experience like deeper shifts in our body. Because what it does is that it gives us on a muscle memory level a completely different experience of how well we can be nourished, how well we can take care of ourselves, how can we actually feel if we let go of all the daily pressure if we let go of guilt, if we let go of some of these like emotional states that even if we don't notice, they're on a daily basis still driving our actions. This is a big reason why a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of remote workers, they use work as a way to almost like self-sabotage themselves as well, because of course we do it out of passion, we create something, but if we do it at the sake of our own well-being, we have to question where is that energy actually coming from, right? So this is what I feel like with the in-person experiences. There is a massive opportunity to go way deeper, because it is not just us being behind our laptops. It is us also being together with, again, depends on an event, but in our case with the festival, being together with 100 other people who you feel their energy. You get inspired by them being very committed to their well-being, having those in between chats. There's also, there's already science also about this, what happens when people come together and they, for example, meditate in a group, what it does to our nervous systems, how it syncs our heart rhythms, heart pace within a group experience. So I'm not an expert on this, right? So I wouldn't delve into this, but I can't even begin to start comparing those two, because I feel like the online experience is almost many times dragging us deeper into the whole of productivity, hustle, disconnection, and in-person experiences. They can completely shift that energy into more ease, more inspiration, more peace, connection. And it really, so many times I've felt it for myself as well, that it really reminds us what's truly important in life. Because having this experience, if you really integrate it as well, then the next steps are also clearer. And it's clear that, okay, the pace that I was going at before is not really working. Great. Now I have such a massive reset that if I really take it in, like, okay, I want to feel like this on a daily basis. Cool. What do I do about it now? How do I plan my weeks, months, years? How do I make space for well-being? And you know what? This doesn't come anymore just from, it is a cool idea, well-being, da-da-da. It actually comes from experiencing something in your body that then makes the decisions for you. That is why we bring people together. That is why the festival is curated around embodiment. We want to get people from their heads to their hearts, and let that heart both guide their business, their travels, their lifestyle.
I think that's amazing. It's not even just necessarily the nomadic lifestyle. I think having an entrepreneurial, or even you don't necessarily even have to be an entrepreneur. I think if you're entrepreneurial minded, which a lot of the time being a remote worker, you typically do have that kind of more entrepreneurial mind, I guess. It is important to kind of connect with that sort of in a more emotional part of your brain and your intuitions. And I think you're just creating a really great space for people to be able to feel empowered. And I'm excited for your guys' second edition of MINOMA now. The second, right?
Yes.
Coming up at the end of the year. I'm excited to see what comes out of it, because you guys have been doing some amazing work on that. Is there anything else that you want to leave anybody with, like what people could expect
from the festival? Okay, what to expect from MINOMA Festival? First of all, it is November 7 to 10 in Morocco. It's in the Agafay Desert, that's very close to Marrakesh. So the environment itself, it's quite surreal. It's quite serene. It's those sunsets and sunrises where you see the desert landscape and the camels walking on the distance. So it's a very, very inspiring location itself, but also in terms of community. Community is something that we focus on, of course, a lot. Also before and after the festival. Before the festival, we have a lot of online travel meetups. After the festival, we are curating meetups and co-living in Dagasut, because this happened last year as well, that around half of the people, they didn't come just for a 3-day festival. They also extended their stay in Morocco, working remotely, being in community, and integrating together in a really cute coastal village in Morocco. It's called Dagasut. So this year we have the same plan to, first of all, to extend the in-person community experience and have also online meetups later on. So the community aspect is really, really strong. But also, one thing to mention about the program, because now I talked a lot about like the inner work and embodiment, but there is also, of course, entrepreneurial sessions, but how they might be different from 10 steps to scale your business to 7 figures workshops is that they're very customized, personalized. We bring in human design, we bring in money, energetics. And it's also, for a lot of people, it's a completely different way to then look at business. So maybe this is a few other elements that I would add on top of what I already shared. If you are thinking of joining us, let's have a call, let's connect. It's always the best way to see. It's always the best way to see if that is actually a good fit for you. Because a lot of people have also their ideas of, okay, this might be too spiritual, this might be too hippie for me. But again, on those calls, then you just know exactly if this is the right fit for you or not. Or maybe there's another experience that we or another community is doing that we can recommend. So happy to connect with anyone who just, feels called.
Han from the editing studio here. So for some reason, my mic cut out in the last minute of this podcast episode, but I didn't realise at the time, so apologies for that. Luckily, we were just wrapping things up with the final question. Fill in the blank, home is where?
Home is where? Ah, wow, this is a beautiful question. Honestly, I feel like my home is where my yoga mat is and where I can dive within. And yeah, it is the internal world that I feel like I'm most at home. So whenever I can take a deep breath, I'm always at home.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Remote Life. And thank you, Maris, for taking the time to speak with us. You can find links to our profiles below. Thank you so much again for listening, and we can't wait to remote work with you again soon.